What up, nerds, and welcome to another propaganda-filled episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 425, recorded Tuesday, May 30th, 2023. Tonight we're talking about another Patreon pick. This was chosen by ya boy Naderade. The movie is none other than Starship Troopers from 1997. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy Randeezy. What's up, man?
I'm doing my part.
How's it going, buddy? Good to hear from you.
You always do your part.
I got something in the mail today from you.
Oh,
that's unusual.
Yes. It was a box of my fecal matter, right?
It's an invite to your wedding, so I don't see a difference.
You're so sweet. You're such a sweetheart.
I know.
Well, go ahead and mail that on back. Let me know you can't make it. I know you don't want to come.
Yeah. We could have accomplished this on text, Bob.
I hate you still, in case you didn't know. Well, cool.
And yes, I'm coming. You will feed me.
But not in the way that you think I'm coming.
That's right.
Next up, calling in from South Korea, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy Roughneck Stains.
So rough. So neck.
So rough. So
that
right.
sounds like the beginning of a Tide commercial. Somebody was saying something along those lines. And then Mom's like, I've got this one covered. No neck is too rough.
No more
Tide.
Roughneck Stains.
Roughneck Stains. Got a real sweaty neck.
Just
real sweaty,
super
leathery, sandpapery neck.
Damn, all the ladies say so.
They love it. That's what they like to see.
That's my trademark.
This fucked up neck. Oh, man. Last but not least, making his triumphant return to the show, everybody welcome back your boy Matt. What's up, man?
All space, no vampires. Would you like to know more?
I would like to know more. The people were so fucking jazzed about you being here, they cut you off.
Yeah.
All space, no vampires. Yeah, dude. It's been a while since we had you on, and you're like our sword expert, and now you're just gonna have to become our weapons expert.
You're just our war expert.
You're our combat guy. We got us a combat guy over
I got
here.
a lot of studying to do. Holy shit.
Yeah, our man in the trenches, so to speak. You know about space.
Tell us what
lasers.
you know about space railguns.
Magnets?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. Fantastic, thank you. But yeah, you got a sword school that you teach at, and you got your own podcast about sword stuff. Why don't you remind everybody where they can find you and what you do?
Yeah, so the podcast is called Swords in Stereo. It's in any podcatcher that you have, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And then the sword school is here in Jacksonville, Florida. It's called Bold City Longsword, and we teach historical fencing, German longsword, Italian rapier, and sword and buckler.
Nice. So if you want to slice and
Anything
dice,
in my ass. I'm desperate.
but not anything. Nothing that sharp. Yeah, if you want to learn how to fight with swords, Bold City Longsword, they got you. And definitely check out Swords in Stereo as well, everywhere you get your podcast.
Yeah, we talk about dicks a lot, so if you like swords and dicks, that's the podcast for you.
Yes. Phallic Cast. Tune in. Awesome, man. Well, thanks for joining us again. And yeah, before we get into the main event, we got some housekeeping to tackle real quick. Let's do it. The June poll is closing in a matter of hours as of this recording. 90s Invasion was the theme for June, and it looks like Mars Attacks is still riding with about 50% of the vote.
Whoa, all right.
Down from
Oh, yeah,
esteemed
I'm
guest
saying,
here.
not a Burton guy, huh,
Oh,
Matt?
wow.
Yeah.
You want to? What did you want to win?
You wanted Independence Day,
This
huh?
This is the propaganda episode, so if you want to lay it down for people, now's
for
the
it.
time.
I don't really find any of these movies great.
Okay.
But I find Independence Day more entertaining.
Yeah. Welcome to Earth.
Yeah. Mars Attacks is just different levels of annoying, and then it ends.
Wow, that's an interesting take. Well, you got a few hours left to vote. Body Snatchers, Independence Day, and Mars Attacks. Get those votes in real quick. That does mean we're going to have a brand new poll posted. Our July poll is going to be live for you guys to vote on. This is going to be your boy Randeezy's takeover month. What's going on there, Randy?
Wow, total mystery to me. Yeah, what's going on, Randy?
Well, I made a judgment call that this year I was going to go a little bit less grim dark as I did last year. We wound up watching Threads, not the most upbeat film of all time, but not going to go too upbeat. You know, I figured something really depressing that's also animated might be a nice call. So, for this particular month, it's going to be just animated horror films, kind of broad spectrumy. And the films are going to be The House, the stop-motion animated film on Netflix.
Yeah.
Paprika, the anime film, which I have not seen, but I've heard good things. It's an R-rated film. And then the seminal classic Watership Down. From what I understand, all quite different shades of depressing in their own way. So I'm excited to check that out.
Nothing like animated depression. Woo!
That's right. Man, hey, look, so you can't please everybody, you know? If I'm not making people sad, what am I even fucking doing here?
That's okay, Randy. You're just getting us. You're just feeding us into the Halloween season. You're just getting us there, you know.
I got to set the vibe. We're doing the vibe check for July.
Yeah. We're also famously depressed during Halloween season. You know it. All right, yeah. Go ahead and start voting on Randeezy's July takeover month for the poll. In other minicast news, last Friday we did drop a brand new minicast. If you support us at the $10 level or above, you get the chance to listen to a whole back catalog of Patreon exclusive episodes. We got 98 shows up there now, cruising in on 100. Last Friday, Juice, you were talking about the HBO series The Last of Us, the entire first season.
Yes, finally that came out. So yeah, that was a big hot commodity this year, and it was adapted from a video game, and it was really quality. A lot of people. We had our own Slack channel dedicated to it for a while, and now you got my full thoughts on that. So yeah, that was a good show coming out this year.
And next up, I think June, the first Friday and second Friday in June 9th, I think it is. I'm going to be dropping another minicast on Patreon, and I'm going to be talking about the new release Malum. That's on VOD. Whoa. VOD everywhere you rent your bullshit. Check out Malum, and then check out my thoughts on Patreon.
Nice.
What else?
Is it Malum or Malum? Malum sounds more fun.
I think it's Malum. My lovely lady.
My lumps. My lovely
That's
lady
probably
lumps.
it.
True horror. My lumps. Check it out. Google that. Yeah. This is definitely belated, but I wanted to just quickly thank everybody for hanging out with us for the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards. That was a lot of fun. First time we did a watch party for something like that. They showed it on Shudder. And it was a great turnout. We all had fun guessing at like what was going to win. And just thanks for chilling, guys. We'll try and do that next year too. That was a good time.
Man, I can't wait for my first time to get mad at an award show about horror.
I can't.
That's what award shows are, right? It's where people just go to get mad.
The audacity.
It was rigged. It was rigged from the start.
It's
I
all
could tell.
politics, Joe.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
For sure. That's all I got, though. Anything else, boys and ghouls?
Oh, my house is filthy,
Clean it up.
So first off, big shouts outs to Seth over at the Bean Dud podcast. He was my latest guest on Creature Comforts. He suggested, and we talked about Enemy from 2013. And I really just do want to sing his praises because I try to record those early in the month and then release them later in the month. But that's when we were traveling. You guys were coming. We went to Japan and stuff. And so this was like the most scatterbrain month for me to like set one of those up, and Seth just was like so accommodating and like did such a fantastic job. So really shouts outs to him. Thank you for coming on, giving a great discussion. So you can check that out over on our YouTube. Also too, we have a new event coming up in Seoul. Our second event in Seoul is coming up We still got a while. It's going to be July 22nd, Saturday, July 22nd, but we're going to be doing some screenings. So it's called Summer Chills. And Korea actually has a tradition of releasing horror movies in like the heat of summer. It's like the summer chills will keep you cool is kind of like the idea of releasing horror films in the summertime. So we're going to be doing a double feature screening, hosting that with the Dark Side of Soul guys. Sean's going to be there. And so, yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. If you are in the Seoul area or in Korea, or you just want to fly over, for a special Seoul screening, come on over. We'll be doing that in July. So excited about that. I think that's all of my housekeeping.
Sweet.
Well, I have something to add.
Well, Randy,
just the same thing I've been singing about for a while. My episode of Horror and More with Anya Gore is officially out. Some delays there. I'm just still riding that train. I'm gonna ride
just really milking that feature, aren't you?
I've been doing things. I mean, I do stuff.
I'm doing my part.
Horror and More with Anya Gore. We're talking The Innocents. Check it out.
Check it out. All right. I think our house is clean.
You think so, huh?
This house is clean.
All right, let's get into the main event. We are talking about Starship Troopers, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob, how many of these boxes do you have?
Just one, but it's a steel box with no words on the back, so I can't read anything.
Ooh, steel blue, baby. All right,
can't have words on steel. That's a wrap.
You can't do it.
You got to etch them on there. Yeah, all right.
Costs a lot of money. Starship Troopers from 1997, rated R with a runtime of 2 hours and 9 minutes. This is directed by Paul Verhoeven, based on a book written by Robert A. Heinlein. Stars Casper Van Dien, Denise Richards, Dina Meyer, Neil Patrick Harris is in this joint, Michael Ironside, fucking Jake Busey, a bunch of other folks.
Fucking
yeah.
Fiddle playing ass Jake Busey.
Gary toyed with some curse names as nicknames for his kids as
fucking
well.
Plot synopsis brought to you by IMDb is as follows. Humans in a fascist, militaristic future wage a war with giant alien bugs. Short and sweet. Gentlemen, had you seen this movie before, and would you recommend people check it out? Matt, why don't you kick us off, man?
Yeah, I believe I saw this in the theater when it came out. I was a sophomore in high school when it came out, and I snuck in.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I got to see some boobies
Bad
when I was
boy.
way too young to see them.
Ooh.
But yeah, it really stuck with me. I didn't understand it was a satire at the time, so I was just like, these people fucking love the military. This is awesome.
Maybe I'll join the military.
And then I did. Well,
I want to do my part.
Yeah, but
This inspired Matt.
I really enjoyed it at the time, and it was nice to go back and look at it as an adult and see the shit I missed at the time.
Yeah, for sure. You recommend people watch it?
Yes, go see it.
Okay. In theaters now. Check it out. Ray and Deezy, what about you?
First time for me. Yeah, this is one of those movies that I always was vaguely aware of. I knew people that really loved it, but it looked really dumb to me from the jump. So I never gave it the time. I was happy to finally get to see it because over the last several years, it's like come up more and more, and it's become clear to me that there's maybe a little more under the hood than I anticipated from this movie when I first heard about it at 7 years old. Somehow I didn't get the subtext from the trailers when I was 7. So I lightly recommend this movie. I think I want to get into it, and maybe I'll have a different opinion by the end of it. I don't think that it's a must watch for me, though. Certainly not a strong horror film. Like, it's not in that realm as much. But I think you could definitely do a lot worse in the action realm.
Right on. Light recommend from Ray and Deezy. Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I'd seen this before. I'm surprised Randy hadn't, because I feel like this is one of those movies that was on like either the Sci-Fi Channel or maybe it bounced around a couple different cable channels for a while. And also, too, maybe I can't quite remember, but one of my earliest exposures, if I didn't see the movie yet, was they had a show that was out that I used to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
talking VR Troopers right now?
No, it was like it was in the same kind of, it was computer animated, and so this was back in the day too. I think it was 1999. So you're talking like Beast Wars style.
It was called
animation.
It was called Roughnecks Starship Troopers Chronicles. I watched that shit too.
Yeah, and
yeah.
It was a kid show, yeah, but it was the same squad, and it was kind of like their missions or what that the episodes were like grouped in as missions. Like we go to this planet, we do this, and they were like in groups of 5 or something. But yeah, it was a pretty solid show, at least back in the day. I love the shit out of it. It actually is on YouTube still, but in a terrible quality.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like a zoomed in screen. It's like already low quality, and then like
we need a 4K release now.
We do. That's a blue I can get behind. But yeah, it's cool to know that you
to be seen on a tube TV. Like there's some shows that I'm like, I'm glad that the sands of time turn it over, and the best you're gonna get is this rough, disgusting, shitty copy of it in some way. There's something lovely about that to me.
Well,
not an archivist.
That's yeah. So anyways, I would recommend people check this out. I think it's a lot of fun. I do think it's dated in a lot of ways, but that kind of adds to the charm for me now, watching it now. And yeah, I think it'll be a fun, interesting discussion. But yeah, it's actiony horror, sci-fi horror. So I think people have some fun with it if you've never seen it before. But yeah, let's see who's next. Bob, have you seen this before?
Yeah.
Bob, do you know there's a show? Have you ever watched that before?
No. Tell me more.
Do you have a steel case of it?
I wish. I saw this in the theater. My parents took me when I was like 9 to watch this, which is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Yabo's popping.
I know. There's so much nudity and excessive gore. Like, reflecting upon it, it's kind of nuts. But I enjoyed it as a kid.
I remember my mom covering my eyes over Titanic, so that's mind-blowing to me.
They may have covered my eyes for the nudity. I don't recall.
But the violence.
Watch all this violence, son. Yeah, but these, yeah.
All right, son, this is the part that's going to fix you.
I enjoyed it as a kid for sure, and my memory of it was it's just being it's a big, dumb, fun popcorn movie, and it definitely is that. But watching it a little older, you definitely get a little more out of it. And then upon like doing some research for the show, there's like definitely more under the hood, which is interesting. So you can chew on that stuff if you are so inclined. But it works perfectly fine as a popcorn movie too. So yeah, I recommend it. It's a lot of fun if you're looking for like an action, science fiction type joint. Not really a horror, but excessive gore for sure. I definitely recommend it if you're in the mood for that. And summertime, I think we say this all the time, like every summer, but like summertime is perfect for like action, science fiction type movies.
Yeah.
So yeah, throw it on. Sounds like a pretty solid recommendation across the board from the four of us.
So plump, so right.
This movie here is plump, so that's right. We're gonna spoil
something
is. Yeah, we're gonna spoil the shit out of this movie, and here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
Bob, you're gonna need to hit me with that plot synopsis.
Let me lay it down on you right now. All right. In the 23rd century, Earth is governed by the United Citizen Federation, which is a military government founded by veterans after democracy and social scientists brought civilization to the brink of ruin. Citizenship is only gained through federal service, which grants rights such as to vote and also to breed that are withheld from ordinary citizens. Humans begin colonizing missions throughout the galaxy, bringing them into conflict with a race of highly evolved insectoid creatures known as arachnids or bugs. We see teenage jock Johnny Rico enlist as an infantryman to remain close to his girlfriend, who goes on to be a spaceship pilot named Carmen Ibanez. Their psychic friend Carl Jenkins also joins the military intelligence, while Isabel Dizzy Flores, who is in love with Rico, joins as well and deliberately transfers to his squad to be closer to him. Carmen eventually breaks up with Rico because their career paths separate them. Rico impresses his drill sergeant, which earns him a promotion to squad leader. He then makes a mistake during a training exercise, which causes the death of one of his squad. Rico ends up resigning from the military briefly. He then tries to rejoin after learning an asteroid sent by the Arachnids has destroyed Buenos Aires, killing millions, including his parents.
Bugs whacked his child.
They did. And invasion force is deployed to the Arachnids' home planet, but the military underestimates them, leading to thousands of casualties. Rico, Dizzy, and Ace join a new unit called the Roughnecks. Rico earns corporal and starts dating Dizzy. The squad answers a distress call on Planet P that turns out to be a trap. They're swarmed with thousands of bugs, and Carmen swoops in with her new boy toy Xander, saving Rico and Ace, but Dizzy dies in Rico's arms. The squad is ordered back to Planet P to try and capture an intelligent arachnid called the Brain Bug. In doing so, Carmen and Xander crash land in the bug's lair, and the Brain Bug sucks out Xander's brain. Rico saves Carmen, and the squad captures the Brain Bug in the end. The movie ends with a propaganda advertisement explaining the Brain Bug is being studied so they can learn its secrets and secure humanity's victory. It also encourages you to join and do your part while showing Carmen pilot her own ship and Rico storming into another battle with his troops. Roll them credits.
Oh, no, not again.
Again, every damn time. Every time.
All right.
So
Matt,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to ask Matt. Like, we're going to do. We're going to talk at the same time. We had a discussion about not talking over each other today.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask Matt. Like, so when you saw this in theaters or whatever, obviously you didn't like see like whatever subtext we're going to get into shortly, but like it obviously left a pretty good impression on you, right? Like, this is something that is this a movie that you like hold dear?
Well,
I was just curious.
I would say. Yeah, in a way, because in a way, like where what Juice was saying, where he said it didn't age, I would disagree with that. I think in a lot of ways, this movie feels timeless because they wrote it in that way where it could be the 50s and World War II was yesterday, or it could be the far future, and it has like that, hey guys, we're fighting all across the seas, and all that weird radio talk, and the dialogue is written that way. So like, yeah,
but it's not necessarily a nostalgia bait for you, because that's what I'm gathering from Rob and Justin's cartooning. No,
it's not nostalgia bait. Like I appreciate that they stepped up. This doesn't feel like a 90s movie. It's not written like a 90s movie, and this movie could come out any time with different graphics, and as long as they sticked with that corny dialogue and everything, it would fit in just fine.
Yeah, that's
the most 90s thing about this is the excessive yabos, actually.
Yeah, the cast is pretty damn 90s. I kind of agree though.
That's
like the satire of the movie is like so baked in, and it's like turned up to 11 that like you kind of could watch this at any given point. Like it doesn't really feel 90s in a way that like a lot of other horror movies, like The Faculty, we've covered that. Like that feels 90s as fuck.
Sure.
This sort of stands apart from that.
Nazi star aside.
So where it kind of feels 90s for me is I like kind of like what you're just hinting at with the Yabas, but not just that, is I feel like this movie would have a really hard time being made now and having the impact that it does, or like being made in the way it does. So what it kind of feels like to me is the quirkiness of the 90s. It kind of like a Mystery Men or something, where nobody would make a Mystery Men these days. It kind of feels like the kind of punchiness that it has and the like weirdness that it has is like very specifically feels like a success of the 90s to me. Yeah.
Well, in a way, it's
Matt,
like,
you were about to say something.
Yeah, in a way, it feels like it's ahead of its time, and it's also like a time capsule because like they're talking about fake news. They're using the internet to get their news. Shit like that we did. This is 20 years before that was mainstream. And at the same time, it feels like a newsreel from World War II or the Korean War.
It sort of is timeless in a way because it's a full blown propaganda film from a place that doesn't exist. So it's grounded in reality in a way, but not really.
I think that I don't know. I kind of I largely kind of disagree that it feels very 90s because I don't really feel that. I kind of agree that it feels kind of timeless, but it's also even I don't know, some of the stuff that's in there. I feel like you would stand a better chance of making this today, just not on the budget that it had.
Sorry.
Because I think about movies like Psycho Gorman and shit, and I think it's eminently doable to do these sort of glib satirical films now, just on more micro budgets. Also, even Mystery Men. You brought up Mystery Men. I was I think there's plenty of subversive superhero movies now that superhero movies are the mainstream. So that might be a bad example.
Well, okay, so I have an example of a film that its themes are very similar, and even its style. And this movie came out in the 90s, and this other movie, so Ender's Game is what I'm talking about. Okay. So this movie to me came out in the 90s. It played up its tone, but it had its message delivered, and it works, and it kind of lives on in people's memories in that way. Ender's Game is a very similar type of kind of message and even book and things like that, but that came out, I don't know, when did that film came out? 2011 or something. Yeah, something like that. And I don't remember that movie at all. That was played as a blockbuster. You come and see it, and it's more kind of taken seriously and we're going to make it a film. But it's also kind of cheapened because we got to make it a spectacle, and we got to worry about the box office and stuff like that. Where that to me, that movie has no impact in my memory whatsoever, where they're very similar specific types of films. So that's kind of,
I don't know. I think that the tone that they're trying to strike is way less memorable on its face. I don't know that. I feel I understand what you're saying. There are some through lines there, and that movie is definitely less successful. It sticks in people's minds less for sure. But I think that has a lot more to do with how fucking boring it is than anything else.
Nothing about this fucking movie is boring at all. How did you?
This movie is a spectacle feast
for sure. How did you guys think the practical and digital effects held up today?
I think they
held up
okay with it.
Yeah.
Them using the black screen and making everything dark really paid off for them.
Yeah.
And then there's only a couple times you can tell they're standing in front of a green screen, like when Doogie Howser shoots the bug in the cage.
Yeah.
That's the only scene that really stuck out in my brain.
Yeah, I agree. I think the spaceship scenes when you see them floating around in their crafts look up. Probably the worst to me, but most of the bug action looks pretty solid, and you can tell specifically when it's all practical, it looks fucking great. There is a sequence that really stood out to me when they're doing they're cutting open one of the smaller bugs in school, and then Carmen pukes all over it. That looked fantastic.
Yeah, I did.
I agree.
It looked really good.
Yeah. I think that the thing they did that was really, really smart about this. I agree that the space stuff looks probably the worst because that's not one of the harder things to pull off. I think we're so used to seeing space stuff after throughout the course of cinema that it's kind of easy to clock. But with these things, the action is so fast, the creatures are so fast, so that's really smart from a CG perspective. Less time to clock incapacities or whatever, or insufficient graphics. But also the flesh of the monsters, for the most part, doesn't need to be too fleshy, and it doesn't need to mimic anything that we would recognize as organic. An exoskeleton is a lot easier to sell, I think, to the human eye than something more fleshy. The brain bug was a little bit harder sell for me, and it was because A, it was on screen a lot longer, and B, it was a more fleshy thing, and you can the substance of it was more apparent. But they even did pretty well with that, I think. For all of the for it being a little bit weaker, it's still pretty damn good.
I think so too. And really, yeah, the battle scenes, it's been the thing shooting the blue shit into the sky and stuff like that. I feel like that all still looks fine today. And it's really kind of the set pieces, maybe, of, like we said, on the spaceship and their kind of spacesuits. But you could, if you're playing that up as retro, you can kind of pass that off. And then, yeah, just those, like, I'm flying, like the flying scenes look pretty. I think those probably look the worst, honestly.
How degrading
and then
is
most
that,
cheesy.
knowing you're dead from like a bug plasma turd that just got thrown in his face.
He shat all over me.
Oh, God.
Them bugs whacked his job.
God damn. Did you guys find this humorous? Did the comedies hit you?
Oh yeah,
I think the subtextual comedy hit me pretty good, and that's actually what kept me interested throughout the movie more so than anything else. I'm sorry, Matt. I might have cut you off. there.
No, go ahead.
No, I was done. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, like, one of the things I thought was humorous, even when I was a kid watching this, is that all the kids, all the adults in their hometown are just maimed. They're all like missing arms and blind and shit because they're all veterans. And they went through this, and everyone's like, "I think I'll still do it. I think I'll still sign up."
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're so incredibly stoked to sign up and serve,
dude,
too. It's
the scene where they give those kids a gun and the kids are fighting in the gun. They're like, laughing at these kids fighting over, like, literally weapons of war is one of the funnier things that happens in this movie, in my opinion.
The commercials are fucking hilarious as shit. My favorite was the moms cheering their children on as they're stepping on cockroaches, like killing these little cockroaches. Shit was out of hand.
What year was this? Did this come out?
97?
Yeah, 97.
So, like, this and MIB in the same year? Damn.
Yeah.
That's a year that loved aliens but hated cockroaches.
True.
Well, even the, like, tone that they use, like, when they're kind of talking about something serious. So, like, yeah, we saw them go through the thing of, like, everybody's maimed, and the guy's like, yeah, good for you, son. And they point out he's got no legs or whatever.
Made me who I am today.
Yeah, they're talking about things later in a very kind of youthful play kind of way. But the shit that they're talking about is really serious, but they don't bring that tone at all. So when they're like, why did you join this stupid squad? I'm stupid as fuck. Oh, and then someone's like, I want to be a mother. Just like the ideas that they plant there while they're all just kind of joking around, and you're like, well, wait a second, damn, like, I want to be a mother.
Yeah, you're not allowed to conceive, presumably. You're not to serve and become a citizen, right?
Easier to get a license.
It's easier to
because
get a license.
Rico's parents didn't join,
Yeah.
and they had
That's
him.
true. Okay.
So, yeah, that
true.
sort of like bleakness was definitely like lost on me as a kid, and then watching it like older, I was like, man, this is definitely going for comedy, but it's extraordinarily bleak. And then like the more you think about it, the funnier it becomes. Like they're so fucking stoked. Like after Dizzy dies in Rico's arms, like you would think he would be like fucking done, right? It's the saddest fucking thing he's ever experienced. And they send him back to Planet P, and he can't fucking wait to go. He's like, I'll go. I'm gonna serve until I die, or you find someone better. I was like, damn, dude.
That's the shit, man. That whole that's the thing, is like nobody in this movie has like human emotions for the most part. Like the only human emotions on display is horniness. That's it.
I would
that's
disagree.
pretty light even.
I think they have the emotions of an 18-year-old, even though all these actors are almost 30.
What?
Because like that's
well, horniness. I said that.
Yeah, horniness and anger and just like I know better than everyone else. Like that's what is going on, is that they're kids and adults are stupid, and they're going to do this whether they're smart or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it does have
it
has the human emotions of what you would want to sell as a propaganda film. Oh, your lover died in your arms. Walk it off and stand for your country. Yeah. It's that kind of well, we'll get them and we'll show them. It's not any kind of lesson learned. It's not any type of like administrative problem. It's the most basic, what can we sell to the public type of emotions. Be brave. Push through. Yeah.
And we're Americans, and like the one emotion it's okay to show in public is anger. Because if you start crying or you're too happy, you're fucking weird or crazy. But if you're angry, well, that's just a normal American right there.
You should be.
You've got a solid reason to be pissed and screaming at that 16-year-old waitress who brought your blooming onion that was a little too cold. She deserves it.
I feel like Bob's
Where's my horsey sauce, motherfucker?
I was the 16-year-old waitress.
Where's my donkey slap sauce, bitch? Give it to me.
Donkey slap sauce.
Donkey, damn.
Where are you
I need
eating?
to give me some of that.
Where are you eating, Randy? God damn.
I just tried to think of the most American sentence I could scream about.
Donkey slap sauce.
The old donkey slap, dude. That's
I don't know,
that's
like
a new straight chillin' trademark. You got to get some donkey slap sauce up in here.
Order some donkey slap sauce.
No. So like, I was thinking about this though, like thinking about the time that this did come out, like not to get in the weeds about like, about it being timeless or not or whatever again, but like it did come out in 97. This is like a post-grunge, very disillusioned youth populace. And this was like, I feel like I know that this movie was not well received to begin with, like when it came out, at least not by critics anyway. But I also feel like I feel like kids like in their teens or whatever would have watched this movie and laughed their dicks off. I don't know, like somehow that didn't happen. Am I wrong? I don't know.
Well, this was also post Gulf War, where we just destroyed Iraq in like 6 days, and it wasn't even hard. We just shot a bunch of missiles and the war was over. So like you have that whole thing in the conscience too, where we felt invincible.
Yeah. I think some of the negative reviews had to do with people watching this movie and not picking up on the satire and thinking it was like very pro-military, pro-fascism. Mm-hmm. At least that's what when I was reading like interviews with Verhoeven, that's like what his explanation was. And then watching it later on, you're able to, I guess, pick up on some of that stuff. And like, no, it's satirical. He's obviously not about this shit. Which if like Sorry. I was just going to get into like a little bit of trivia. I was like reading a little bit about Verhoeven, and like he lived in The Hague, I guess, which was like Norway's capital. And then like during World War II, like Germany had a base, like they operated out of there. So like he was seeing a lot of like bombs hitting, and like he saw a bunch of like bodies in the street and like buildings on fire, just mayhem. So like he's very like anti-war and will say it very plainly. And like in the commentary, he states it like very, very plainly too. I mean, it's easy enough to watch the movie and get it, but I guess maybe in 97.
Well,
it wasn't. I don't know.
That's the thing about it, is like I'm a little bit torn on that, because like to our eyes, I feel like it definitely hits a satirical, because I feel like between like, I don't know, at least the three of us, Matt, I don't want to speak for you too, but like it's like it hits very fucking jingoistic to a degree that is like laughable and like fascist to an insane degree. Doogie Howser is wearing an SS uniform in this movie. Like there's no question about it. He looks like a Captain America villain. He's so Nazi-ish. So like to say that, like, I feel like it hits us that way, but I also think like, and I was thinking about this after the film, there's a YouTuber called Lindsay Ellis. I don't want to go too deep into it, but she did this video about Blazing Saddles and made a really, really strong point, which was about American History X and about how like negative movements like neo-Nazis have co-opted that movie because they find it somewhat like a sexy thing, even though the moral of that story is racism bad, fascism bad. It still has fucking Ed Norton looking like a stone cold badass for most of the movie. And if you are a fascist, the aesthetics of that still appeal to you. Meanwhile, you watch a movie like The Producers, which has a song called Springtime for Hitler, where a beatnik Hitler sings a song and there's like showgirls and shit, and it's wildly absurd. No fucking actual neo-Nazis are loving goddamn Springtime for Hitler. So there's like an aesthetic choice in this movie that is leaning into things that a fascist might find appealing aesthetically, even though you and I are clocking it as humorous. I could see the argument that people might miss that if they're not thinking too hard about it. Like, man, this is a very fascistic movie. Fuck this movie. Like, I don't know. I could see that happening. I just think we're kind of our pump is primed to see this as satire. I feel like
that's the thing. Me and Matt actually talked about this same idea just a couple months ago when we talked about Fight Club, about where you make this film that to some people is clearly critiquing something, but for others it stands as a kind of beacon for the terrible behavior that it's supposed to be critiquing. And so in a way, maybe like it is kind of like in a way, you could spin it as the idea of kind of like, disguising or not even disguising, but making a Mountain Dew energy drink or something like that, where it's this one thing and it's supposed to be this one thing, but people think it's another thing clearly because it's labeled as that. And so I think in that kind of way, this film with its humor and stuff like that could easily be taken as a film that people would just watch and have fun with, and like maybe subconsciously like take some of those ideas the wrong way. I could definitely see that. So.
Yeah, I think it's a Rorschach test for what people are looking for in the movie, which makes it really fucking interesting. Yeah. And is to me by far more interesting than the surface level of the movie.
Mm-hmm. I also think like the excessive gore that Verhoeven put into this movie was definitely meant to like be comedic and add to the satire of it, but like watching it, he's not, American, but like Americans watching things like this, we're used to it. Like excessive gore is almost expected. So like the humor or like the commentary on that sort of thing might be lost on some viewers because it's just like we see that shit all the time, But the titties, no. Too many titties. Can't have that.
That's definitely European.
I thought that was really interesting how that was like and maybe this is like just something that they pulled straight from the book, but like this movie has a lot of like sexiness, but for the most part, people aren't behaving sexually except the main like trio of characters and Diz. Like those four characters have sexual pursuits, but everybody else is just like, oh yeah, hot people all around me. We're all getting naked and showering. We're talking about being moms and shit. Mm-hmm. And it's whatever, whatever. Like I just thought that was like weirdly progressive for a movie that is fashioning itself after Nazi propaganda.
It's European. No. That is noticeable. And I didn't know that he was Europe or that, I didn't consider that in that way. I thought it was just kind of like, at the time, I kind of honestly just thought it was that way of mixing everything in this stew where everything's okay. That tone of just like, no matter what happens, everything's the same tone. There's no dynamics. Nobody gets super upset. Nobody there's no, no matter what happens, we're all just here for it, So that's kind of how I took it at first, but I didn't consider that, it was just a European and that might just be completely normal.
Well, I took behavior. It that they had really made the sexes equal, because even at the beginning of the movie, Diz is the quarterback on the football team.
Yeah,
and,
true.
The fact that they can all take the shower together and it's not sexual at all, I believe, is very sex positive.
And I think Verhoeven.
That's what's so weird about it.
Verhoeven is kind of known
like
for
in any other movie that would be seen as woke propaganda.
I think in Verhoeven is just sort of known for having strong female characters throughout his movies, and they're definitely present here for sure. When they were filming that shower scene, I guess Verhoeven asked the actors to strip nude and just kind of like walk around naked for a while before they shot the scene to get them used to being nude and loosen them up. They didn't want to do it, and they're like, why don't you fucking get naked? And he's like, all right. So he just did, and so did the camera operator. Yeah. They were just chilling naked.
Awesome.
The queen.
They shot that whole scene just naked with everybody
That
else.
camera operator waited his whole life for that moment.
Yeah,
He's like, now's my time.
Thanks,
Thought you
Paul.
never asked. Rip.
Yes.
That's wonderful. I love that idea because it is. We've talked about this ad nauseum, and we don't have to write it too hard here, but it came up in that was it Wicked City or something like that? We were talking about the Japanese and the kind of extreme points that they took sexuality, but it's just like, to us, yeah, it stands out as a scene. Like, whoa, that scene. But in any other movie, it could just be another regular scene. I mean, you know, in Korea too, it's not necessarily mixing with the sexes, but it's like no big thing to go to the spas with your family members. So for like kid to see their dads and their uncles 100% nude often, and same with the daughters and their moms and their aunts and their sisters. Yeah, and so that's just like a normal, and so they think it's like weird that you like, why wouldn't you want to get naked? Like, it's just, we need to get over that shit.
Yeah.
And that's that is interesting. And like, to me, it's like, it almost works against the broader point of what Verhoeven's doing, unfortunately, from an American perspective anyway. I mean, the thing is, like, this movie is drastically American in just about every other way.
Well, I think he's making the nudity feel normal and casual the same way he's making the violence feel normal and casual. But we're just taking issue with one and not the other because we're
and I think that is exactly. And like, if it was a movie that wasn't like so strongly positioned as an American point of view, even though it is not explicitly stated, it is very clearly an American point of view, but directed by somebody who's not American. So it kind of has this weird like about face to it, where I can understand that in a movie that's more straightforward, but this one is subverting something, and it kind of subverts its own subversion by doing that just a little bit.
So it's not subverted.
At least to us. And it's again, like, I think you're right. Like, I don't think it's a bad decision. I do think that as Americans, we're going to take it the way that Americans take it, and our minds are primed again to kind of see it as like, oh, that's unusual. Why would they do that? You know what I mean? Like, it's a distraction, maybe.
Well, it is weird from the if you think about it in the standpoint of kind of what we were talking about of the messaging, like the overall messaging, where some things are clearly supposed to be propaganda, or like you said, there's a dude in an SS outfit or whatever, he's got the leather thing on. But then at the same time, you have these kind of progressive ideas. Well, then those things start to like mesh, where you're like, oh, well, yeah, there is a woman quarterback, and like, oh yeah, people are just showering and like having sex, and like those are good ideals. But if you mix it in this thing where you're saying like, well, over here they're doing it as a normal thing, and it's supposed to be a critique. So are they really critiquing the idea that men and women should be able to shower together without any problem? I think, well, then like, that stuff gets muddled, right?
I guess it does get kind of muddled, but the way I would interpret it, I guess, would be like, there's a soldier and a citizen, and like that's the delineation. Like, you know, well, I guess not a citizen, I guess a civilian, I should say, because you have to you have to serve to be a citizen.
Well, also, we're all men, so who knows what this feels like for a woman? Sure, they could find that. Oh, like, look, I could take a shower and be totally safe. Yeah, I want to join the military.
Shoot at me. With your lasers, not your wieners, to be clear. Did this...
okay.
We're hunting for dick.
Good Lord. Did this movie go on a little too long for you guys? Did it outstay its welcome?
A scotch. Yeah.
It did, but I was also like, the ending felt abrupt. It just ended.
It kind of did at the same time.
He's like the
abrupt.
SS Doogie Howser comes out and he touches the brain with a vagina face, and then the movie ends. And I'm like, what happened?
He's afraid. Yeah, that was really funny.
Vagina's afraid.
By the way,
I found that scene. I found that scene to be both like kind of fucking chilling, because this dude is like telepathic. He's got this amazing power, and he finds out this bug is fucking terrified for its life. And like the pure like joy that everybody gets from knowing that it's terrified is like kind of fucking gross. But also like, that's the only time he really uses his telepathy. Like, that leads to nowhere. And like, why is it in this movie at all? Really?
I honest to God did not know he was telepathic. When he did that, I was like, what is happening? I don't understand this.
That is understandable, because there's just a couple other mentions of it. Now, that is something that they explore in that show. So in the show, all the people who are separated are essentially just together. So he's part of the squad or whatever. So that comes in a lot more. And so I took it this time knowing, you know, the kind of the critiques and stuff. I kind of took it as some of the like experimentation that the Nazis used to do, looking for stuff like that, like experimenting on human beings.
He's dressed like an SS officer, like a like a fascist or a Nazi scientist. Like that there's no way that's not intentional.
So that's like specifically stuck out to me this time. But yeah, it definitely wasn't important in this movie. How about the book, Matt? You've read the book, right?
Yeah, I read it this week for this podcast.
Oh, wow.
Look at somebody. Damn. Our guests do way more homework than we do.
Did you do homework for us, Matt?
Yeah, the book was actually pretty boring. It's real dry.
Yeah.
It's half propaganda and like half the author just reminiscing about his days in the military when everything made sense. He's like, I woke up and they told me what to do and I loved it. Good night.
I loved it. Well, he was like a pretty prominent sci-fi author, right? Like that's so like, I don't know. This is very strange to me that like, well, I watched a little bit of a Verhoeven interview today and on YouTube, and he was saying something along like he puts the fascist elements squarely on what's the author's name? Heinlein?
Robert A. Heinlein. I think Heinlein or Heinlein. I'm not sure, but.
Yeah, Heinlein. Yeah, he puts it directly on Heinlein's shoulders and says my job was to subvert that. And I like, again, like it's that thing where I like we were saying earlier, like if you're kind of what you pretend to be. So if you are this cool and this exciting while being a fascist, kind of makes fascism seem cool and exciting. So it may not have been an ideal project for somebody who's actively trying to subvert those intentions, or at least he. As explicit as I feel like they are, I feel like they needed. I guess they need to push it a little further because the people of the day really didn't see this that way. It seems like.
Well,
I don't know.
The novel came out in '59, and the author of the novel. He was very far left, but he was very anti-communist because you had to be. And I guess as he got older, he slowly became more libertarian. And like this book was just like, I'm going to have these characters spew out my ideas. And if people hate it, it was the characters. But if people like it, it was me.
Damn.
Man.
All right.
The old soju method.
It wasn't me.
It was playing both sides.
Not
you get ahead in life.
Soju said
Hedging my bets.
You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong?
You're wrong.
No, that wasn't me. I was just joking, you know.
Yeah. Dude, the just joking defense has gotten a lot of play recently, so he's ahead of his time in that regard.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Matt, were there any like alien bugs in the book? Like,
yeah, so there was actually two races of aliens in the book. There was something called the Skinnies, which the humans had already conquered, and like they were servitory to them. I don't know. And then there was also the bugs who didn't come in until the end of the book.
Okay.
Well, so the main reason I asked was we were talking about, I guess, the psychic elements. Is that more prevalent in the book?
No, there's no psychic elements in the book at all.
What a
so
weird
this movie totally
weird.
It is weird.
So the book almost takes place totally from Rico's point of view, and it's a lot of his inner thoughts. Like Dizzy is a man in the book, and he's only like in one chapter. His girlfriend in the movie, they're just friends, casual friends. And they leave the same day, and then they meet up for lunch once, and that's all you ever see of her. And then Doogie Howser, he's not a psychic. He works on electronics, and he randomly gets blown up, and Rico hears about it in the newspaper.
All right.
So they added all these side characters because you can't do a whole movie from someone's inner thoughts. So he has to have people to talk to and interact with.
Was the idea of having to serve in the military to become a citizen from the book?
Yeah, it was his. It's this political message where, like, so in the book, you're allowed to leave the military whenever you want, but they make it super hard. And the whole idea is if you would keep coming back and going through all this horrible shit because you want to serve your community, then you're the type of people that they want to vote. And that was like the whole message of the book.
Okay. Interesting.
Damn, dude.
So yeah, if you're willing to put up with like being told what to do and a bunch of shit, then like, yeah, you get to vote.
Yeah, like he goes out of his way to say people in the military aren't the smartest people, but they're the people who will put others first, and that's the kind of people they want to vote. And that was kind of his whole political message.
Damn, this guy. So Heinlein, I guess, from what I'm not familiar with his work. I've never read his stuff, but I guess he's like considered one of the top 3 hard sci-fi writers of like all time, I guess.
Hard.
He's a big deal. Had you read any of his other works or just this one?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It was news to me that this movie was even based on a book. I just thought it was a big, dumb, fun popcorn flick. And it is that, you know.
I always kind of, well, I mean, not when I was a kid, but I have known since being an adult that it was a book. And partly, again, because, you know, that was the big thing. And probably why it reminds me of Ender's Game is like that whole generation, you know, this coming out, the book came out in 1959. That was like the prominence of sci-fi in a lot of ways. A lot of like films that we have now that were sci-fis, they're based on books that came out at that time.
And both those books really, you can tell the author was really concerned about the Cold War and the nuclear crisis. But when this movie comes out, all that's over with. We're not scared about the Red Scare anymore. We whooped Iraq's ass in 6 days. So like the culture and the political climate in America is just totally different from when the book was written and when the movie was written.
That's true.
Join now. Do your part. You can drink beer after murdering bugs and bang out in a tent and, you know, listen to Jake Busey play the fiddle if you want to do that.
Yeah, he's always got a fiddle.
Always going to town.
That cyber fiddle.
The cyber fiddle is my primary instrument, actually. Hey, girl, you want a cyber fiddle?
Made of green plexiglass. It looks like a prop from a fucking laser tag room, except it's an instrument somehow.
And they sent it to him. I bet somebody out there can play the cyber fiddle. He hasn't been eaten by bugs.
Yeah, you can really see the script's budget when they open that box. And you're like, that's a spray painted Nerf football. That's a spray painted Nerf football. That's a hobby kit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's an interesting movie. Like taking it fully, like as just like the thrill ride that it kind of is. It has problems, like you were saying. Like it kind of ends, but I think that's a virtue of the fact that this movie does not really change cadence ever. It's always 100% full throttle after a certain point, and that certain point is pretty early in the movie. So it kind of like doesn't have. It doesn't have like it has like a character arc to some extent, but it doesn't really feel like it has arc on it at all. Did you guys feel that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
These people are meant to want to serve, and they do so gleefully, and like that's kind of the point of the movie. That's it. But it like whenever they leave Planet P and then they get sent back. At that point of the movie, I was like, damn, this is starting to feel kind of long. Like, we just need to kind of roll credits at some point. But the brain bug is kind of cool, and him, like, sucking out Xander's brains was dope. But then it does just kind of end. Yeah. And, like, the writing in that, like, the last 20 minutes of the movie felt just bad, honestly. Because, like, they decide, you know, Rico's like, there's no way we're going to go look for Carmen. She's dead. And then 5 minutes later, he's like, you know what? I'm going to go look for Carmen who's with me. And like, and they save her or whatever.
They do a subtle music cue there where you're supposed to go, is Doogie Howser brain fucking him right now? Is that
I didn't notice that at all.
I missed that.
Well, I didn't know he was.
And they bring it back up later. Yeah.
That's right. He did say something like,
"Oh, I sent you a message."
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, I didn't understand that, but that makes a lot of sense. The Doogie Howser character, man, is so weird. He's like the most obvious, like Nazi parallel to me, like visually speaking, because of what I said already. But also like he's like intentionally sending people off to die, except for his friends. As like, I don't know, there's like a eugenicist thing going on.
I have to make these decisions every day. Yeah.
And you're supposed to respect and like him at the end of the film. And it's like, oh man, even for satire, that feels wrong. Like,
well, as we said,
Sorry.
Well, for it to end, I mean, because they do bring it up a little bit, so it's kind of like hinted at, but they're mostly in those commercials. And that's the thing. It kind of dances around a lot of things. And you really do kind of have to put the work in to connect these dots in a way, because they were having a discussion about, did we provoke these things? Is it a live and let live? And like, people are like, they're not smart. They're not intelligent. But then you find out that they are intelligent, but everyone just cheers anyways. Where that was
happy that they're afraid.
that kind of like moving the goalpost type of idea of like, well, they're not smart, so it doesn't matter. We'll just blow them away. It's like, well, they are smart. Well, good, because they're scared of us. It's like, well, like, what's actually going on here? What are we talking about?
Real easy funnel to look at objectively, but this movie does not invite objective thought.
Because they're also making fun of like the 24-hour news system, but this is when that was new, and now we're looking at it 25 years later, like a quarter century of putting up with that shit, and we're just like, that tracks.
Only gotten worse. There's definitely
it's really fucked us up, huh?
The dissolution of objective reality is a real kick in the ass, isn't it?
There's definitely a hint that like our colonization of like other worlds is what like pissed the bugs off and made them like throw an asteroid, but there's really, as far as the context of the movie goes, no real evidence that they threw an asteroid. Like it could have just happened, and then the military like blamed it on the bugs, for an excuse to go take over their planet or whatever.
I wish they would have covered some of that. Like, honestly, like if they had said that, if we had somehow found that out, and then like they kind of did that, like you just said, Justin, like where like, oh, they're intelligent now, and we're just cheering because we know that they're scared of us and we've beaten their asses or whatever, and it didn't change the hate at all. Like if they had done an extra step also, where they're like, oh, it turns out that was just a rogue thing. It's like, well, I'm glad it did, because now we knew what we had to do, or something like, like insane. Like, I don't know. I feel like maybe, I don't know. I'm torn between whether this is like too overt of satire or not overt enough because of how many people don't see what I see in it. It's like,
I think it's kind of both. I think it is.
It's definitely both.
I think in the same way.
That's kind of like the bummer of it.
Well, yeah, in the same way we were talking about the mixture of the bad things and the good thing. Oh, that's like super progressive. Whoa, this is like super not progressive. And like the mixture of those things, I think it's in the same way of like, it's too overt. It's not like, I think, it's got some balance problems.
A little
and
messy.
What's interesting though is like going back to like sexism not being a thing, but citizenship versus civilianship, those being a thing, but also like within the construct of fascism, there always has to be an outgroup, and the outgroup is a bunch of fucking aliens that you can't even humanize necessarily. Yeah. So like, if you're not one of them, you get to be one of us, and that only lasts as long as that outgroup exists. So they're going to destroy this thing. If they had destroyed those things and then started like eating each other, just for lack of a better term, and like suddenly like there's a new outgroup established, then all of a sudden it's a very clear satire. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like I know that toes the line between like what this movie is trying to do and what I think sells the point home better. But I don't know. I think there's a million ways you could kind of skin this cat, and I don't know that I like how easy it is for people to misinterpret this. It makes me, makes my butthole pucker a little bit.
Nice visual. Thank
Bob's
you.
loving that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I know he is.
You guys want to go ahead and rate this thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Matt, why don't you kick us off? Out of 5, how do you feel about Starship Troopers?
Awesome. I got some bullet points I'm going to blow through here real fast.
Blow them.
There's a golden girl in this movie. I don't know if you missed her. She's the blind, the school teacher when they're cutting the bugs open. That's Blanche.
Nice.
Yeah, and she's still hot, even though she's blind and has a weird wig on.
And her face is all fucked
even
up.
though she's blind. Come on, man.
Well, it looks like she got like
her face
acid
like
scars.
Yeah, like she has acid scars and fake hair. And, So the only time they tell you what time period we're in is they sing it in the prom scene, and it's some shitty pop song, and they tell you it's the 23rd century. So like if you don't have the subtitles on, you miss it. By the way, that prom scene was garbage. It was like it was just the 90s for some reason. There was no sci-fi in that sci-fi prom. Like they lost all their money and they're like, bring your own clothes from home, people. That it was really rough. Jake Busey, I was just happy to see him. He was like the most fun part of this movie for me. He put on a Cooter suit, but was not really a Cooter, and it just made me happy. And then I just saw his dad. I watched Silver Bullet for the Cut Above podcast the other day, so like I got double Busey'd this week, and it was really nice.
Really nice.
That's a lot of teeth.
They played this super romantic Mazzy Star song at the bar.
I know.
And it's so awkward.
And a fight breaks
the
out.
weirdest choice.
It's like this song about eternal love and heartbreak as these two men go ape shit fighting over a woman in this progressive society where that would not be okay at all. And I was literally laughing my ass off the whole time just because of the song choice.
It would have. It's a scene that honestly could have been better served by Song 2 by Blur. Just saying, that would have made more sense than fucking Mazzy Star.
I think I found a plot hole. Their hometown got blown up, yet their teacher from their high school just shows up and is in the military now. So like, unless he was like in the crapper or something and the meteor missed him, I don't know how he got there.
I went to the crapper and the whole area got destroyed by a meteor.
Why does Diz like Rico?
He's good at
He's
football.
Rico. He's Johnny Rico.
Fuck that guy. All right. Oh my God. Like Diz, you're in there's fucking man meat everywhere. Pick someone that'll treat you right, lady. That like I was so sad for her. And then they frizzed her at the end just so Johnny has a story point. And I'm like, it should have been the other fucking way around. Diz should have turned out to be the hero of this movie.
That would have been badass, actually.
And then let me see and like he always picks her second. When he becomes in charge, he has to get a right hand man, and he looks right at fucking Busey and he's like, "You want it?" And Busey's like, "No," and he's like, "Well, Diz, I guess you got it." I was like, "Diz, fucking smack him in the dick." I was so mad. I don't understand the message they're doing by just abusing her character the whole movie, and then she dies, and I'm very emotionally upset about it now that I'm talking about it.
I'll give you a hug.
But anyway, I really like this movie. Besides them kicking Diz in the nuts the whole time, I'm going to give it a 4.3. That's a B plus, and go watch it if you haven't seen it yet.
All right, 4.3 from your boy Matt. Juice, how do you feel?
Yeah, so I think just from a pure watch standpoint, I do like this film, and I always kind of have liked this film because it's fun in the same kind of way of like, watching Independence Day is fun, or, like you said, it's a fun popcorn movie. You could throw it on. It's got some fun action. It's got some decent kind of enough comedy. It holds up well as far as like the looks of it and the action of it goes. So just from like that pure standpoint, I think it's like a pretty fun movie. And a little long in the tooth,
I do know.
Old.
We all know.
No, yeah, it is a little too long, but and it has like some pacing issues. But then there is this whole subtext, and then when you start to get into it and you understand it and everything like that, there's a lot to pull apart, and some of it works really well, and then some of it doesn't. And so, in the same kind of way, like this movie works pretty well. It's a little long. The psychic thing, it makes no sense, and then underneath it, there is some subtext that like really works well and really makes you think about it and is successful, and it's kind of like satire of like a propaganda and a war film and stuff like that. But then also too, like, kind of doesn't really work well when you're like, well, wait a second. So it kind of goes back and forth on both fronts. I think just instinctually my natural inclination is to go like a 3.5 from my pure kind of enjoyment, and to say, yeah, it does have some successful subtext. And then all the knocks against that are just kind of like, the plotting and like too long and stuff like that. But so I'm going to give it a 3.5, of course, with a half star for the Yabos, because Yabos be popping everywhere. So I'll give it a 4-star overall.
Right on.
Man's got a code.
He does.
Got a code.
I'll slide in here real quick.
Bob, out of 5, Starship Poopers. What you giving it?
Starship Poopers. Yeah, this is a great popcorn movie. It's one that you can definitely throw on with some buddies and have a pretty good time watching it. I'm surprised at how well the practical and CG effects hold up. I assumed it's been so long since I've seen this. I was like, man, this is gonna look like shit, but it's still fun. But most of it looked pretty damn good. I really was impressed by it. The acting is like effective in a way that I also wasn't really prepared for, because they're like so unaffected by these insane decisions that they're making and the loss of life and the blood and guts and viscera. And the main characters the whole time have this like very like blank smiling facade. And it's like slightly haunting in a way that like I found like just, I don't know, effective. Definitely didn't register any of that when I saw it at the age of 9. When you get into like the subtext of it, like glorifying like a militaristic state and like fascism and like the idea of only being able to become a citizen of the world, you have to serve in the military. It's just like really kind of interesting and fascinating, and a lot of that does get driven home. I think the point is easy enough to pick up on, even if there are some inconsistencies that we've already sort of highlighted here. Most of the comedy works. Most of that holds up. The Mazzy Star fight scene is fucking hilarious, and what a wild fucking choice that was. Yeah, I think we kind of touched on most of the other stuff. I'm going to come in with a 4 out of 5 as well. Super entertaining, and if you want to dive a little deeper, you can do so. Randeezy, how do you feel?
So I feel like I'm not as hot on this as you guys do. I don't have any of the like nostalgia goggles for this at all, and it's not necessarily totally in my wheelhouse on its face even. But I did enjoy myself to some extent. Here's the thing. I think this movie is really funny when taken the way that I think it was intended, that Verhoeven says it was intended. I think that it's got a lot of like really funny moments that hit just right. I think it would probably be a more successful movie to be drinking with friends and watch than it is anything else. Well, not anything else. I think that's the ideal way to watch it for a second time. For a first time, I'm glad that I watched it on my own, because I was like kind of like feeling out that satirical level of it. And I think that I love that exists there. I love that is in there, but I do feel like it's got slightly mixed messages going on, because it is simultaneously criticizing something and making it look badass. And that's a really, really weird line to walk. So, I don't know. I feel like it's justified to critique this movie as being intentionally or not somewhat pro-fascist, which I am not down with. But at the same time, I do like taking it at a satirical level. It is really, really funny and definitely anti-fascist. So I like that dichotomy that's going on, but it comes at a cost. I don't really want to watch this movie again for that. I feel like I can talk about that all I want. The only time I would rewatch this is in a room drinking with buddies and just like laughing at it for the most part. The effects still hold up. That's really good. The acting is terrible. It's mostly terrible, but in a way that like serves what the purpose of the film is. I think I think that it sells some of that satire really well. I also think that it's a byproduct of casting the actors that they cast and them having the kind of acting they have. I think that I think they cast it appropriately for characters that are not supposed to be acted with a whole lot of realism. Let's see. I think it's too long. I feel like Rob, like it's overly long. And at the same time, because it hits that fever pitch of just like roller coaster the whole time, you never really get an arc. It doesn't feel like not a tonal arc anyway. And it just feels like it just kind of drops off a cliff at one point. Those are my critiques of it. I think is I'm a little bit iffy about the mixed messages as much as I like to talk about it and think about it. And the acting is rough to watch. It's a little long, and it's really just kind of hitting the same notes over and over and over and over again. So for me, that puts it at about a 3.5. I'm going to leave it there.
Right on. Randy's 3.5 is going to put our aggregate at a 3.95. Pretty good. Yeah, so your boy Naderade did send in an email with his thoughts and his own rating for Starship Troopers. Juice, do you have that pulled up?
Of course I do. Of course.
Fantastic.
I'm ready. I've got it. It's so easy. It's right here at the top of our email list.
Wonderful.
All right. So, all right. So it starts off. Come on, you apes. You want to live forever, bish. Starship Troopers is a really fun B sci-fi action movie. I watched it when it first came out 26 years ago, you old bish, and I liked it then. But I really fell in love with it when I revisited it a few years ago. It's now a yearly watch for me. Wow. The cheesy acting, the characters, the dialogue hit me in all the right places. The whole football scene speaks for itself. Yeah, we didn't even talk about a football scene. If you're not into that, then this movie's not for you. I have this on 4K, and what still surprises me is how well a lot of the special effects hold up. Not all of them, but most of them. All in all, Starship Troopers is a well-made sci-fi movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's a fun ride. 4.5 stars plus a half star for Michael Ironside. Okay. Yeah. We didn't even really talk about him either. He's very yaborific. I love you guys, and I hope you enjoyed the flick. #hard with soju. Well, there you go.
That says soft with soju. Wow. Everybody knows
that says not rigid with Bob.
That says melty wiener with soju.
That says Nate can't get it up for soju. Okay.
Yeah, this bit's still good. It's still good.
That's what it says.
We can keep going.
That's what it says. Oh, boy.
There's more. There's more email I see here.
Oh, he keeps sending it in.
There's another line here.
He's live tweeting about soju's wiener. Oh, wow.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for picking this flick, Naderade. Solid choice, and yeah, we appreciate the support as always. 3.95.
Thanks, Nate.
3.95 from your straight chillin' crew. Let's go ahead and jump into a Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users think about Starship Troopers.
Certified. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Rotten Tomatoes segment of the show in which I'm going to have these folks guess within the best of their abilities what the critics and users' aggregate positive score is on RottenTomatoes.com. We're going to start, as we always do, with the critic score. Matt, you're our esteemed guest. I'm going to give you the first bite of the apple for the critics. There are 76 reviews to account for here, 76. So out of those 76, what percentage would you say are positive reviews?
Well, I don't think this is going to do very well with the critics. I think the fart sniffing guys are going to hate it, and then I think the blue collar guys are going to think it didn't go far enough. So with both of them just mad about different things, I'm gonna call it a 55.
55. All right, Bob, we're gonna go to you next. Where do you land on that spectrum?
It's a good guess. I guess I'll take the over, but not too over. I'll take a 59.
Okay, over easy. All right, Juice, how about you? Where are you falling in this little?
I'm going to risk
be the bread? Are you going to be the meat?
I'm going to take the high end and say 69 dudes.
69
Bob,
dudes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Dudes, right. Specifically dudes, not boys.
I don't want to frighten anybody, but somebody is 1 percentage point away from being 100% correct. The correct answer is 70% positive. Juice takes that one away.
69 dudes came through for soju.
Oh, 70.
This is one of those times when Zoom really works to our benefit. This is one of those times where Zoom really comes in for a benefit because your screaming got completely cut out.
Yep.
It was
no.
You were too fucking loud. Silent.
Hell yeah. Zoom's like, we don't need this. That's better. See, Alex, if that's what you want to do from now on, I respect that. It's like a very, very calm Ric Flair.
Oh, that's hell yeet.
All right, moving over to our audience score. Juice, why don't we take the first bite of the apple here? What do you think that our 100,000 plus audience ratings put this movie in?
This is where I'm kind of torn.
That's bad grammar.
I don't know. I don't know. I still think I think it'll probably be higher than the critics. I'm going to say 76.
76. All right. We're going reverse order. Bob, why don't you tell me what you think that the audience would give this film?
Yeah, I think it's going to be higher too. There's a lot of nostalgia and people, you know, the rise of Rotten Tomatoes stuff. People are getting on and thinking like, oh yeah, I fucking love this movie. Saw it when I was a kid. I think that'll definitely factor in here. 76 from Soju.
76.
I'm gonna go nuts with an 80, I guess.
Oh,
I'm crazy.
big dick swinging.
Wow. Wow, nuts everywhere.
All right.
You're welcome.
80
Matt, bring
nuts.
us home. You want to be the bottom bun, the top bun,
no,
or the
no,
meat?
no.
Where you going?
I'm sesame seed and fluffy on top.
Ooh.
I think a lot of people will, like Bob said, are going back with nostalgia glasses and review bombing this in a good way. I'm going to go with Blink 82.
All right.
I like that.
No one.
Minus the one.
Yeah. Minus 100. Well, I'll tell you what. Zoom's about to blow out because the answer is, again, 70%, meaning Juice takes this one. 70%. This is the only movie I can remember where the fucking critic and user aggregate scores were the same
it
number.
Like never happens ever.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think
nuts.
I've ever seen that
It's a
before.
conspiracy.
But also,
It's a perfect movie.
That's a hell yeah.
It's a perfect 70% movie. It's 70% of a perfect movie every time.
Every time.
Woo! Whinnying over here. Okay.
All right. Soju, right on the pulse of the peeps.
Pat yourself on the back harder.
And the
please.
critics, like Jesus. But I will say, I was convinced you were going to say 69 again. I was going to be really excited if you had. All right.
I'm really
Let's
excited.
read the critics. The critics' consensus reads as follows: a fun movie. ... If you can accept the excessive gore and wooden acting. Nice ellipses used there, guys.
I can't accept that. Yeah.
I won't accept it.
I'm actually
I'll
fine
accept
with it.
Yeah, I encourage you.
Yeah. I'll accept the charges.
We're
on
gonna
the tab.
now look. Sorry, what?
Put it on my tab.
Putting it on the tab. I'm gonna go over to the critics and see if there's any funny negative reviews. I have actually pre-screened a little bit and found a few
There's
things that
gotta
were
be.
interesting.
There's gotta be.
There's a few. I'm going to start with one that is the most baffling and concerning one that I've seen. And it just simply says, lacks the courage of the book's fascist conclusions.
Wow.
Damn,
We want it to be
Salon.com.
more fascist? Is that what we're saying?
Why don't you have the courage to be more Nazi-esque, you motherfuckers?
That's a skinhead salon? What are they fucking doing?
It's all
I don't know, man.
They're waxing.
Yeah.
I gotta think there's some key context missing, but I'm not gonna give it the credit. Not until I see it. See it. Believe it when I see it. All right, here's another
I
one.
get my head
Lacking-
waxed and I get my butthole waxed in the same place. You know, nice and
Gotta be
convenient.
pure. The moose lodge.
Gotta be pure.
Lacking the sophistication. Here's one. Lacking the sophistication of the average comic book, it compensates with panoramic attack sequences reminiscent of the Japanese swarm attacks in American war movies. I mean, this is an action film, guy. I don't know why you would have a problem with action. Like I'd know that. Like I gave us a good score, even though I'm not a big action guy. So fuck off.
Why can't you be more like Randy?
I'm just a good dude, and everyone should aspire to be me.
It's true.
Do what I do, okay?
All right, don't do what I do. It's not. There's no money in it. Next, we have one that reads, this flick wallows in just about every moth-ridden cliche known to the film industry and relies almost entirely on naked teenage girls and recycled special effects from what it deems excitement.
They're not teenage.
No.
Yeah, they're teenage in writing, but not in reality. Those women are 27, 28.
45,
Those men,
probably.
Disney
I'm
was
guessing
29.
low 30s.
29.
Wow.
Yeah.
Carmen was
Yeah.
27, 26. I wrote it down.
Michael Ironside was 21.
And had the biggest titties of all.
Oh, he did. And last, I'm going to read one audience review. I forgot what this says, so I'm going in blind for a second time. How anyone can take this movie with a grain of salt is beyond me. Two sexes bathing together is not going to happen, nor can bugs shoot plasma bolts out of their rear ends with any accuracy whatsoever. This movie is a total dud. I'm with this guy. I don't think that aliens' butts can really handle this kind of scrutiny.
That's got to be a troll.
They're on the same level. Giant alien butt, plasma turds, people showering together. The same level of impossibility.
They're equally incredulous about these two.
That has to be a troll. I don't believe that.
Bob, you should have less faith in man.
You're probably right, unfortunately. God damn.
Y'all give these guys some 5-star reviews so they can get on Rotten Tomatoes and fix this shit.
Yeah, do it. Listen to Matt.
Oh my god.
The clip from this would just be Yabo's popping, right? Am I right, boys?
I kind of it's like somebody saying like I think that the like changing of clocks every year, twice a year, that's bullshit. Also Bush did 9/11. It's fucking insane. Two very different levels, my guy.
Same.
All right, that's it. That's Rotten Tomatoes.
All right. Right on. Yeah, I definitely got some more trivia, so let's get into it.
It's totally time for trivia.
Trivia. There's a decent amount of trivia on this movie. I tried to get into some of it, but there is more. So I did want to clarify Paul Verhoeven, the director of this movie. He was born in Amsterdam in 1938. Ended up moving to what I mentioned earlier, the Hague, I think is how you pronounce it, which is not like the technical capital of the Netherlands, but it's the de facto capital. And in 1943 is when the Germans rolled in and made a headquarters there as well. And then his family eventually left.
The Hague is like, to compare it to NCAA football, it's like the Ohio State University. So that's how you need to say it. It's the
Hague. Yeah.
There you go. You got it.
There apparently is a miniature Millennium Falcon that you can see on the backside of one of the Starship's bridges. So,
okay. Huh.
Yeah, this exists in the same world as Star Wars. Apparently, during the battle scenes when they were filming, the actors would have to look at Paul Verhoeven himself, and he would stand in front of them and jump up and scream and chase them around with a broom to try and elicit their reactions because the bugs weren't actually there. They were all, added in after the fact. And he would scream at them saying, "I'm a big fucking bug. I'll kill you."
I want that in my life.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I want to party with this guy. He seems like a good time.
Yeah,
I do too, man.
Just
good way to make movies.
Just get naked.
Just get 50-50 party in the woods.
50-50 studio set,
50-50 showering in a space marine encampment.
Would you do it?
You got to keep it equal. It's important. The DVD audio commentary by Paul Verhoeven was one of the very first to be accompanied by a disclaimer at the beginning stating the opinions in the commentary belong to the speaker and not necessarily reflect the movie studio itself. So I guess he says some pretty wild shit on there. The amount of ammunition
that tracks, man.
Yeah, it does. He seems like a wild fellow, even in his later years. There's more ammunition used in this movie than any previous movie. The weapons coordinator on set, Robert Rock Galati, said they used over 300,000 blank rounds during filming.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that's fucking
God
nuts.
damn.
Seems like you could have just. I mean, I would have assumed that they were just doing this. Like,
yeah.
You
Just
told me they weren't holding real weapons.
I mean,
I would have believed.
It's harder to sell that than it looks, though. Like from a special effects perspective.
Sure.
So, especially with that many guns, I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
In speaking of the commentary, Verhoeven states his intentions very clearly with this movie. He says the film's message is that war makes fascists of us all, and he intentionally evoked Nazi Germany's iconography and propaganda because he saw it as a natural evolution to the post-World War II United States, which obviously could be somewhat frustrating for watchers and listeners to hear. So, thus the disclaimer at the beginning.
Very prescient.
Yes.
I'm frustrated.
Very, very prescient.
Yeah, no, I'm living in a nightmare.
Your boy Paul might have been right on the money. This movie was apparently nominated for an Oscar for Best Visual Effects alongside Jurassic Park: The Lost World and Titanic. It ended up losing to the Titanic.
What? Rigged.
I mean, Jurassic Park definitely wins out of those, but that's good company to have.
Yeah.
In your...
No, not Jurassic Park.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Lost
Did
World.
I hear that wrong?
Jurassic Park:
The Lost World.
Oh,
Number
The Lost
3.
World. Okay, yeah.
No, that's the second.
Yeah,
one.
that's
It's the second.
That's the second one.
that's a little bit of a dip.
I wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Good call. I just clocked that as Jurassic Park.
I didn't want your reputation to be on blast.
Oh, it's ruined.
My reputation.
It's
My
ruined.
reputation is shit. So that mistake
I
could have only gone up in the world.
I'm looking out for my boy.
Thank God.
Yeah, my special effects reputation.
Speaking of the special effects, some of the special effects houses that worked on this movie were Industrial Light and Magic. Your boy Phil Tippett, and also there's a team that worked on it. They called themselves, quote, Band from the Ranch, like BANNED, Band from the Ranch. And there was a documentary I watched on the plane going over to Korea. I mentioned this on what we've been watching last week, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago. Anyway, the documentary is called Jurassic Punk, and it specifically focuses on the guy that was basically the guy that brought digital effects to Jurassic Park. They're going to do everything practical. Phil Tippett was actually going to be working on it. I think he still did. And this guy like went against the grain. Everybody told him not to do it, and he started creating like these digital effects and making dinosaurs walk around, and it looked incredible. And all of a sudden, they were like, "Fuck it, we're doing everything digital now." He definitely has this sort of like punk rock kind of vibe to him, and was like very known to like throw wild parties in the office, and they would like break furniture and like make a mess of things. And he and his team got invited out to the George Lucas's ranch for like a nice dinner party or something like that. And he and his buddies just started walking around the property, and they found George's office and started raiding the liquor cabinet and just like throwing down in his office. So they all got literally banned from the ranch. And so they started calling themselves, banned from the ranch, I guess.
What a bunch of assholes.
It's not ideal. It's not ideal. Yeah.
Pieces of shit.
It's Skywalker Ranch. It's George Lucas. He can take the hit.
He can take the
He
hit.
can, but I would never just go to somebody's house and start breaking shit.
I don't know.
That's why you're not
stealing shit.
I don't know that they broke anything, but
You're not a punk kid, man. You're not punk enough for
They
that.
let themselves
I am
into his
not.
office and started drinking his booze. I don't think they were like wrecking his house or anything.
Well, you were saying he was infamous for doing that.
He was, yeah.
Okay.
He was. So,
Well, he pissed
Bob,
somebody off.
you're
for sure.
you're sending mixed messages
sorry.
here, Bob.
Anyway, that documentary is pretty cool. If you can find it, Jurassic Punk, I recommend checking it out. The last bit I have here is actually no, I have two more. Fort Ticonderoga is mentioned in this movie. That was a real fort in upstate New York that was active during the 18th century. It was used by the British during the 7 Years' War with the French, and then again by American troops during the American Revolutionary War against the British. The last thing I have here is, in addition to the CGI animated television series, this movie had 4 sequels. And they are, in 2004, Starship Troopers 2, Hero of the Federation. In 2008, Starship Troopers 3 came out, Marauder. And in 2012, Starship Troopers Invasion. Finally, in 2017, Starship Troopers Traitor of Mars.
I bet
That's got
those are
Casper
good.
Van Dien in it. Oh, but it's like CG animated. It looks like.
Oh, fantastic! I'm sure it's great.
Yeah, actually, the fourth one is also
Watch them. Watch
weird.
them. Yeah, that's all the trivia I got. Let's go ahead and talk Cooter of the Week.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the week.
Juice, what is a Cooter, and why do we hunt them?
Oh, Cooter's a character type in a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a Cooter, but we want the Cooter with the most points. Our guest is going to help us with the Cooter points. Matt, on blast, all of a sudden, boom. What are the 5 points that Cootered him?
Overall looking attire, sexual deviancy, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall patheticness.
Whoa. Nailed it.
Damn.
All right.
We've got a Cooter Hunter elite in our presence.
Mm-hmm. He's our military guy.
Cracked his fingers.
He's our
and
hunter.
everything.
Oh, Jesus.
I just became a man.
Don't do that, Bob. Bob, don't do it. Bob, stop it.
This smells so good.
He's an ass man.
Please continue.
Like potpourri. Okay. So yes. Do we have any strong Cooter candidates this week, boys? Anyone pop off?
Yeah, man.
Who?
I'm gonna jump straight to Barney Stinson. I'm gonna jump straight to
okay,
Doogie
Mr.
Howser.
SS
What's that
himself.
fucker's name?
What is that
Neil
dude's
Patrick
name?
Harris.
Neil Patrick Harris. Yeah.
Barney.
Gonna jump to him. Looking attire. SS fucking officer's uniform. Instantly a 3 out of 3 there. Not a good look. He's also apparently a psychic. That's a little strange, and very much a clinger to Rico. I would say.
You could say he's a manipulator because he's manipulating the animals, but he's like totally fine with the idea that he can manipulate people and is kind of like pursuing
Well, he's
that.
like
And
sending
maybe at
people
some
to their
point
death.
start
too.
to do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah. I was going to kind of put that as a kind of smug arrogance because he was like, I have to do this every day. What do you know about it, you bitch?
Yeah. You're just the ones who die.
Yeah.
Like,
I have to
you
live
know how
with
I'm
hard
the
it
real
is.
victim. I'm the real victim.
Okay, so yeah, he's got it. He's just like already got it.
So he's got 3 points. Not
Pathetic.
really overall pathetic, would you say?
I think that what we just said is pretty pathetic on his face, on a moral standpoint. But
yeah,
he's capable at his job, so no in that regard. Like what he's supposed, he's like on what's the guy from Glorious Bastards, Hans Landa. He's like capable at being a Nazi, which is just
Yeah.
Well,
It doesn't
Put
really
that on the
count.
resume. Yeah.
yeah.
I make a great Nazi.
So
would make a great Nazi. Yeah. So either way, he hits. There's no real sexual deviance. If there was some little hint, he was like looking at people's minds or whatever sexually, but he's not.
No.
But yeah, either way, he hits enough, I think.
Yeah,
There's
I think that's a
them,
good call.
Yeah, I didn't even put him on my list. He went right over my head.
Ooh, what's your list then?
Who's
Tell
on
me
your
who
list, Matt?
competes.
I got Busey because Busey fills that classic role of the Cooter,
Yeah.
but then he doesn't really do anything Cootery.
Yeah.
He's just in that slot, and then they forget to make him do the shit that he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He cuts them in line, and that's the worst thing he does the whole movie.
And then he just shreds the fiddle. Then he's all right.
Yeah, he just shreds the
I
fiddle
heard
and
y'all's
like
boss
he's there
was a
for his
real
boys.
hard
Like
ass.
that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
He's
sorry.
there for his boys.
I'm here for my boys.
Yeah, because
I
then
got
he
my
like
fiddle
kind of
for
he's
Earl.
the one who talks to Johnny when Carmen breaks up with him, and then
He
he's
goes
just
with
kinda,
Johnny to save Carmen. Like,
Yeah.
him and
It's
and
like
Carver from The Wire.
he's the seed of a Cooter, but he never grew into a bush.
Yeah, he saved himself.
bloom.
He how to save a life.
He's a stand-up dude in a Cooter costume. I think that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So no Gary Busey, or not Gary. but-
I've heard
Jake.
arguments on our Slack, at least casting some aspersions on Carmen, but I don't see it.
She's,
I think
Carmen. I don't.
she's
think
just kind of
so.
like a blank slate.
She's,
Her and Diz, man. I think.
yeah,
Go ahead.
they're just young girls. Like they're
Yeah.
not doing anything Cootery. They're
young
just young.
30-year-old girls.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Young,
30-year-old.
And
With children or
even
something.
Diz, when she's like being super, she's not even, she comes off as super aggressive, but as soon as he says no, she backs up,
Yeah.
which I can respect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she
I
doesn't.
feel bad for
try to-
Diz, dude. Diz is
Yeah.
totally a woman in the fridge situation. She is purely there to be
Yeah.
like killed so that Rico has some justified anger to take out on
which doesn't even
aliens.
really flesh
Which
out.
does, yeah, which they don't even play into it hard enough.
Yeah, she
So-
just dies.
It's a very pathetic role, and sadly,
She's one of the most fleshed out characters, honestly. Like, she actually feels like a human.
Yeah.
You know?
True.
She seems likable to some degree, which is something
Yeah.
I can't really say about most of the other characters. Like, I actually was genuinely like, she's all right. You know, she's overly clingy to this one dude for reasons unknown. But I mean, aside from that, she's handling her shit.
Rico must be
And then she gets fucking murked.
Packing a hell of a hog is all I gotta say.
Could we go
Customize those
to
fatigues.
Could we go to the other pilot, the male pilot, because he had some
Xander.
Cooter vibes. Yeah.
Okay.
He was kind of manipulative. You know, he was like, "Babe, you're gonna be the best, but you can only be the best with me."
He had the worst
Kind of
haircut
vibes.
in the whole movie.
Yeah, shitty
He
haircut.
did?
Shitty.
So that's
Mr.
one.
Shitty
That's one
haircut.
point.
Looking attire. Yeah.
He had like forgot to comb his hair, third grader haircut.
It's picture day. Fuck.
But I don't know. Counter argument to that though, Juice, is he does like when they think Rico's dead, he's like, or like, I don't know. He's pretty forthright with Carmen, like, hey, your friend Rico was on that export that just exploded or something like that.
Yeah.
And like, he didn't have to say that, or like, oh, he's going out to whatever it was, something like bad happened to Rico. And he's like,
Yeah.
you should know that your friend Rico is here or something like that.
Yeah.
Like after they
When
realized he was
Diz,
still
that's
alive.
when Diz died. Yeah.
Yeah, he could have like been like mum about that and just
It was a small ship. She probably would have seen
Yeah.
it.
I mean, she probably would have.
It's a
Just
small
turn
ship.
around. I mean, she just had to look in the back. He's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
But you got to be told to turn around.
I
You're a
think-
pilot. You're dedicated to the cause. You're not going to turn
like,
around.
hear his
Turn
voice
around.
probably too.
No.
Nah.
He's not going to notice her either.
Yeah. Hey, I think we got you, boy Doogie. I think that's probably
All right.
the best bet.
Lock him up.
Sounds good.
Neil Patrick Harris.
All right.
you've been
What
locked
you
up.
been watching? I can't wait.
Yeah, let's talk about what we've been watching.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Oh, I thought you were going to
Damn,
skip it.
we're getting to it. Fuck.
Yeah, that's
fucking A.
I just assumed.
Matt, why don't you kick us off? What you been watching, man?
Oh well, I watched Green Room for the first time for
Nice.
a cut above
Nice.
100th episode. It was way better than I was expecting. I don't handle that realistic gore too well,
Yeah.
which is
Oh,
silly because
shit.
I teach sword fighting classes. But yeah, like that the gore in that movie really caught me off guard. But that movie's amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
It's really,
Yeah.
really good.
Speaking of anti-fascist movies,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched I watched these back to back nights, so it was like
Nice.
it was a weird mood
There
in
you
the
go.
house.
yeah.
Also, because
Very
of this, I've been reading or listening to a lot of Warhammer 40K audiobooks, which steals a lot from Starship Trooper. Like we never brought it up in the novels. The soldiers wear big power armor. They're basically big old thick ass Iron Men, and they jump around and stuff. And the budget for the movie couldn't do it. There was an anime that came out in 1988, Starship Troopers, where the whole thing was, let's show them in the armor, and 40K took a lot of that. It's like Starship Trooper and Dune and Evil Dead, and
Damn.
yeah, so it's like all these
I
space
know
marines
that's
fighting
gonna-
demons.
What?
Yeah, it's
That's got
really-
such a huge fan base. I didn't know there was some Evil Dead in the mix.
Yeah,
That's
so
interesting.
it's a board game, and then they started writing tie-in novels has a bigger following than the board game does, because
Interesting.
it's Space Marines fighting demons. It's fucking amazing. Anyway, I've been going through those books really like one a week. It's been pretty
Damn.
awesome.
That sounds dope.
That's it for me.
Almost as good as Ghosts of Mars, sounds like.
Almost. Not
Yeah,
quite.
that kind of does.
Almost. Okay, cool. Ray and Deezy, what you been watching?
Oh, let's see. I have been burning through Yellow Jackets. I'm a little over halfway through season 2, so I'm catching up, and I'm enjoying it. I don't know, like, I get a lot of Lost vibes on it, and it's not just the Lost in the Woods part of it, but it's also I'm a little bit worried that they're going to have too many threads and not enough knots at the end of the show. You know what I mean? But I am enjoying it, and I do really love the acting and some of the writing on that show. They don't hold back on that show, which I appreciate. Good so far. Finished up Succession, final episode this week. Very good season. That show is pretty incredible. I love it. I don't know really what else to say about it. It's definitely a tragic show about very terrible people. So yeah, that kind of fits right into my world.
Sopranos. Okay.
Yeah, The Sopranos. Ted Lasso, been watching that. That show is still fun. It's fine. It's light. It's something to counterbalance. Watched The Mutilator, which I hadn't seen in some time, and I had a good time watching that. That's a fucking fun movie, man. I like that movie. Then also Chop and Steal, a documentary featuring the Found Footage Festival founders, and it's about them doing prank appearances on morning shows where people don't bother to vet them, and they go on as strongmen impersonators, or strongmen, a strongman duo, and they do things like break sticks and like really ridiculous non-exercises, and then they get sued into oblivion. So that's what that documentary is about. It's very good, though. I love it. And last but not least, you guys know what's coming. It's Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Been playing the ass off on that.
Nice.
Game is excellent. The game is excellent.
You saw a band too.
Yeah, I saw Pup. Yeah, that's true. I didn't write that down, but yeah, I got to see Pup again. Pup is always great to watch. Who was it? The Pool Kids, I think, opened for them, and they were quite good. I like them too. Yeah, so that's it.
Looking out for my boy.
Good show.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Juice, what you been watching?
Oh, so many things. First, I watch At Midnight, I'll Take Your Soul. This is a Portuguese film, and my first sighting of Coffin Joe. Wasn't really familiar with that character, but it was good, and I'm kind of interested in checking out more of that. That was a recommendation from our boy Sean over at Dark Side of Soul. Also went on a graveyard tour with him in Seoul, so that was super dope. I watched The Pope's Exorcist. That is with the Gladiator. Russell Crowe. Yeah. And that was a interesting movie, honestly. I didn't really know much about it going in. I don't think I watched the trailer when it came out. And I actually did a mini cast on it. So that'll be coming out probably towards the end of June, I think, sometime in June. Yeah. And so, just hold out and hear my thoughts on that. But it was, I don't know. It was kind of a weird tone and kind of movie in general. I watched a movie called Byzantium, which was a recommendation from Caitlin from Plug It Up. And that was not on my radar. That was a complete surprise for me. Really enjoyed it. And she has a really good episode on it as well. So check that out. I finally watched Memories of Murder from Bong Joon-ho. Nice. Fantastic. Of course, I'd never seen it before. That was my first watch, and it was great. It was fantastic. I finally watched Stoker from Park Chan-wook. That's like his only completely like English film or whatever. Pretty good. I assumed it was about vampires. It's not. But pretty good. Lower on my list of Park Chan-wook films, but it was definitely interesting. Oh God, here we go. Ansandi. This is one of the earlier films from
On Sunday.
No. Incendies is what it looks like, but it's French, from Denis Villeneuve. I've been going through these amazing directors' filmography, which has been fantastic. This is a tough watch and different from kind of his. It's not as stylized as his other films, but it is really good. Definitely up there as maybe one of his best. It was just a really hard watch and pretty long. But it's essentially about these two twins whose mom dies, and she gives them letters to deliver to the father who they thought was dead and to their brother they didn't know they had. And so it's a very interesting film. I watched a bunch of Park Chan-wook shorts as well. One is called Shimpan. It was released in 1999. It's about a mall that collapses, and there's this dead body, and two people try to claim the body, and it's kind of a critique on like trying to collect like on the insurance money. Pretty good. He also released a short called Nepal, which is about this woman from Nepal who's like of Korean descent, but she doesn't speak. She works in a factory, and one day she accidentally leaves her purse but goes and orders food, and they think she's a thief, and so they lock her up in an insane asylum because she can speak a little bit of Korean and she looks Korean, but she comes off as like mentally unwell. And so that kind of sucks. That's a real story, actually. And then he did one just last year called Life is But a Dream that he shot completely on an iPhone 13 Pro. And I really enjoyed that one because it's got a lot of deep Korean traditional roots to it and was fantastic for being shot on an iPhone. So yeah, that was really cool. And that's all I've been watching. Bob, what you been watching, my guy?
Oh, hey. A lot of shit, man. Succession series finale. Watch that. Great show. Super bummer ending, which you probably could have seen that coming. I didn't realize like how many episodes were in this final season. So the past like 3 episodes, I was like, oh, this must be the end. And it just kept not ending. And each episode got like worse and worse in a good way, worse and worse. It was a good finale. I enjoyed that. I also watched a movie called The Third Saturday in October, Part 5, which is a confusing title. This is a new release, and it's kind of like a 2-parter. So there's another one. There's another movie that came out at the exact same time, the exact same day. That's called The Third Saturday in October. Just the first one. That's it. And the director released them at the same time. They're on VOD right now, and with the intention that you watch Part 5 first and then Part 1. They definitely like harken back to like 80s style slashers. And
I'm very interested in that. Yeah. It's extremely confusing, and I kind of love it.
It's very confusing, but it's a cool concept. And those are the only 2 that exist. There's not a Part 2, 3, or 4. It's just 5 and 1. And he was trying to, I guess, kind of create the idea that like if you were to walk into your mom and pop rental shop and you wanted to watch a movie in this series and you reach for number 1 but it's rented and 1 through 4 is gone, so you just grab 5 because you want to see what it's about. So you start with 5 and then you go back the next week and 1 is in stock. Finally you grab that or whatever. And like
how long are they?
Like 90 minutes.
Okay.
Part 1 is like set. It's not set in, but it looks like it's a movie from the 80s, and then Part 5 is supposed to look like a movie from the 90s. So it would kind of have that somewhat naturalistic feel, I guess, than if you're going to rent like, Freddy 1 versus Freddy 5 or 6 or whatever.
That's interesting.
They look different.
That is fascinating, actually.
Is it
slashery? Is it?
Yes, full-blown slashers.
Okay.
Yeah. I only watched Part 5. I loved the idea. I did not love the movie, and I did not necessarily want to watch the other one. Maybe I will eventually. I was reading reviews online, and it seems very split as to which movie people prefer. I watched the trailer for Part 1, and it definitely looks like more stylized. Part 5 did not necessarily feel to me like a movie, like a slasher from the 90s. That's what it was supposed to kind of feel like, though. I don't know. Maybe I'll circle back and watch the first one eventually, but I thought it was a great fucking idea, though, and really interesting. If you want to watch those, they're on VOD. You can rent them now. I also finally caught up on the most recent season of The Mandalorian. Started off pretty slow, kind of meandering, and then kind of circled back around and had some pretty cool shit happen towards the end of it. Overall, pretty good. I watched that movie that you recommended, Juice, Locke.
Yeah.
Which I if you mentioned it, I just forgot. It's an A24 joint. That was a surprise to me. It's got
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
Just Tom Hardy.
It's just Tom Hardy in a car taking calls, and his situation sort of worsens as the movie goes. Pretty good. Tom Hardy kills it. He does a great job.
Yeah.
But it
blew me away.
I did not feel blown away by it, for sure. I thought it was just pretty good. I found that on HBO, or just Max now, as it's called, just Max. So you can watch that if you want. The last thing I'll mention is I watched this 4-part documentary on Hulu about the Hillsong Church and Hillsong United. I think if I remember correctly, it's called The Secrets of Hillsong, or something like that.
Yeah.
And when I was playing like in church bands for a decade, I had to learn dozens of those fucking Hillsong United songs, like so many. And I didn't know that there was ever any problems with the church or anything. So when I saw there was like a documentary on them, I was like, what? I didn't even know what it would be about. So I put it on, and of course,
I think our esteemed friend and guest Nicole has brought that up a number of times. Actually,
really? Yeah, I'm sure she probably has. There's who would have known a mega church pulling in tens of millions of dollars a year has some corruption. Big surprise.
What?
I don't
you supported
believe you.
them.
I gave
You
them
played their
money.
propaganda and
If
profited.
you
off
hadn't,
of
they
it.
would have collapsed like a house of cards.
Oh God, yeah. It was.
I tried to warn you all those years.
It was
I advised
surprising.
against.
It was surprising to me. Anyways, that's on Hulu. If you have any interest in anything like that, it was a bummer. It was interesting, but it was a bummer. That's all I've been watching.
We'll think about forgiving you, Bob.
Oh, please, God, please forgive me. Last but not least, let's go ahead and get into our Hotline Screams.
Time has come.
Hotline Scream.
If you are listening and would like to call and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We got 2 voicemails this week. First up, we're going to hear from ya boy Kyle. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Bob, my dad really wants his copy of Backdoor Sluts 9 back. If you could return that, that'd be great. Oh, wait, you're asleep. You won't get this message. All right, I gotta go. Bye.
I think somebody sleep dialed you.
I don't have that videotape. I'm sorry to say. It's probably underneath your bed, Kyle. Have a look.
Everyone knows Bob's a front door sluts kind of guy.
Talking about putting things in your Peter.
I always go in through the side.
Whoa.
Jesus
Colostomy
Christ.
bag action.
Whatever that means. Good luck on your search for the haunted VHS tape there, Kyle. Last but not least, we're going to hear from your boy Brandon. Let's hear what Brandon has to say.
What up, boys? It's your boy, Brandon. I said, you know what? I'm going to get behind on tones and whatnot. So, first off, it looks like you guys had a great trip. Lots of fun. There's a picture of Randy that he's doing his dance move behind Soja and his legs. They trip me out every time I see it. Bob, congratulations, man. Huge. Crazy. Made me so happy. You're the best. Anyways, we were talking about the birds episode. I said I got attacked by an owl when I was a kid. I was like walking, there was an owl in the tree in my neighbor's place. We all walked over and we looked at it. We're like, oh, this is crazy, whatever. So then I was like, well, this is boring. Just looking at a bird. So I started walking away. He must have been offended because he flew down and freaking scratched my head with his talons and tried to pull me off. It was so scary. So then he tried to do a bank, came back for another round. So that was fucked. Don't fuck with owls, man. Fuck you up. Anyway, Evil Dead Rise, fantastic movie. Your review. I mean, can't be right with everyone, right? You guys gotta have some bad ones. So, my personal ranking, probably Evil Dead 2013, Evil Dead 2, Evil Dead Rise, Evil Dead, exactly. And then, yeah, that's about it. Keep up the good work. Excited for the Trail Hunter review. If you guys like the podcast, you guys should go listen to this. Get out the trail.
Okay, I caught maybe 40% of that.
Yeah. I think an owl jerked him off, and then he saw
I think so, yeah.
the Dead movie.
I know he's a huge fan of owls, And I think he correctly said that Evil Dead Rise is not that great of a movie. I'm pretty sure that's what I heard.
He did.
Yeah,
He's like, it's just fine, right?
It sounded like he ranked Evil Dead Rise over the original Evil Dead movie, which seems questionable.
I question it.
I'm questioning
I'll
that
question
decision. Army of Darkness seems to be consistently at the bottom now. So that's fine.
Let me respond in a manner that would suffice for Brandon. I really don't think you understand how good it was.
We're not hosting an
Is that Rip Torn? Is that my boy Rip?
Yeah, he's ripped and torn.
Boy Rip.
My boy Rip.
I'm glad that the owl only jerked you off and didn't try to attack you. See, the birds is not scary. It's just not a scary concept.
They're just horny, man.
They're just wanting to fuck. That's it.
That's the only reason.
The owls are not what they seem. They're sex pots.
Just open
They're not wise. They're just horny.
Soju would know.
He would.
I would know.
That's why he stares at people, strangers even on the street, just like an owl. Woo!
Okay. Oh, woo!
That's what, they're not saying who. They're saying woo.
Woo. Say woo.
Damn, girl.
Look at that fanny.
It's a mating call. Yeah. They're not cat calling, bird calling.
Yeah.
All right, Kyle.
That's a joke.
Brandon, whoever you are. Thank you for calling. Thank you all for calling. Again, hit us up at 904-638-3231. Do you guys have any prompts you want to throw out for next week's show?
Yeah. Okay. So, what is next week? Actually, I guess we'll talk
the new film.
Oh, we're talking the new film, right? Okay.
The new film is The Boogeyman. The Boogeyman.
Dude.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. Using that as a prompt, then. So, what were you afraid of as a child? Like, what was the monster? Was it a boogeyman? Was it something else more specific?
Was it Justin?
What was it what was in your children's night? What was in your childhood nightmares? For me, it was giant ass cockroaches. So this movie today played into that a little bit.
Okay.
What was?
I don't know what mine. I'll think about it.
What haunted your childhood dreams, Matt?
Man, I grew up out in the middle of nowhere. I was just scared I'd get lost in the woods one day and never make it home.
That's legit.
That's a reasonable fear.
Yeah, it almost happened a couple times. That's why I was so scared of it.
Damn.
That's how you learn to mind your manners, I assume.
I think I legit was scared, like the kind of like night creature of like what scares you when you're going to bed and whatever. I think it was alien invasions. And maybe like seeing X-Files in the background kind of played into that, but I think like an alien coming down and like coming into your room and taking you away. I think that probably
things in your
was
butt.
Yeah. I don't want.
What more could there be to learn about the human anus? I just don't understand the motivation.
Oh, Randy.
Years and years more stuff.
Little do you know.
Oh, Randy, I'm still learning things to this day.
You got to plumb the depths.
Discover.
Yes.
There's a whole world I could
I've been playing Zelda, but this is the real.
Gotta find Bob's watch.
It's been in there for a decade. I don't know. Good luck.
Like nothing I'd ever smelled before in my life.
Ah, yes.
All right, yeah. So call in and let us know what was your childhood nightmare.
Yeah.
Sweet summer rain.
Was it the sweet scent of anus? Yeah, call in. That's a good one. I like that. 904-638-3231. Hit us up. Yeah, Matt, thanks for sitting in with us, man. It's always a pleasure having you.
Thank y'all for inviting
Thank you, Matt.
me.
Yeah.
I'm glad I read that book
man.
so y'all didn't have to.
Dude, yeah, thank you.
Me too.
I'm always pleased when people read for me. Takes so much pressure off.
We're all illiterate, so you had to do it.
Yeah, there's not gonna be any read for me, unfortunately.
Florida education system.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah. Public schools.
That's right.
You want to remind everybody...
if we even have books available anymore.
Yeah. You want to remind everybody where they can find your show one more time, Matt?
Yeah, we're Swords and Stereo. Anywhere you get your podcasts, we'll be there. We talk about historical fencing. And then my school is JacksonvilleHEMA.com, HEMA.
Nice. Yeah, check them out. Learn how to defend yourself with swords.
That's what a boy likes.
That is what a boy likes. Or a girl. Or a person. Next week we're watching The Booger Man. Check it out. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, you can find us on all the socials everywhere. Straight Chilling Podcast. If you want to join in our daily Slack channel conversations, hit us up on one of those social media outlets, and I'll send you a link so you can do so. Join in on the fun. Do your part. We want you. Mm-hmm. That's it. And that's going to do it for us this week. Until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.